Hallo ihr Lieben, ich werde in dieser Einführung...
Hello dear ones. Now in this introduction, I will describe to you how you can transform your life from the ground up. I will give you advice for this transformation process, how you can get into the fullness and lightness. And I have a dear dialogue partner here, Andreas. With him I will play it through as an example, and you will learn and realize from this what benefit you have from feeling deeper inside yourself. Continue to search from within and no longer externally. And now let yourself be inspired.
Nicht mehr nach außen. Und nun lasst euch inspirieren. Ja, ich freue mich auf.
Yes, now I am happy that today, together with Andreas, I will show you different examples for how easy life can be and become. When we realize who we really are, what opportunities we have, and how to take those opportunities. A warm welcome, Andreas. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for your support. Yes. And we will play it through now as if you were a client and you are with me as a client now. I am a client now. We just made the attunement, so the very first thing I will say now is, Andreas, how do you feel now, with everything that you experienced in the attunement? You came closer to yourself, you got contact with your soul, so now, also addressed to you out there, feel simply after this attunement, what is this doing with you? Can you accept this love that wants to come up to you here?
Mal, was macht das mit euch? Könnt ihr diese Liebe, die da kommen möchte,
Can you feel it in yourself? Do you feel inner resistance? And here it starts to get interesting, because then you feel, can I not perceive this love? Or can I not allow it? And here the work starts with yourself. Do I have to look more on the outside, which people and situations make me close myself up? Or do I not feel worthy myself, not love worthy enough to allow myself to come into my own true divine power? This is only to make you aware in advance. So, how do you now say you feel in the connection when the love is coming out of your soul?
Und wie würdest du jetzt sagen, wie fühlst du dich jetzt in der Anbindung, wenn diese Liebe aus deiner Seele kommt?
Also vom Gefühl her ist es für mich so, zuerst mal war es ein
What I felt at first was a calming down, so I imagined, following your words, how this energy is streaming into myself. That worked great, I could feel it. And then came the topic with the love, but that was trickier. I couldn't really feel that love. I was able to imagine how it is streaming into myself, but that was it. It was all nice and stuff, but that was it. So now I have to ask you about that.
Ich kann mir zwar vorstellen, wie das in mich einfließt, aber das war alles. Dann war vorbei. Ich meine, das ist alles ganz schön, aber da muss ich jetzt also da an der Stelle mal anknüpfen und fragen.
Ja.
Yes, now we have two paths we can take. One is, we can just, from our consciousness, follow this energy line until that moment where something happened in your life, where you closed yourself up, where the feeling of deficit and neediness developed. Beforehand, to all of you, it is all foreseen in the soul plan. So too, the parents, the co-actors, don't make any mistakes, no matter what they do with us. It is all part of the plan.
Für euch alle, es ist im Seelenplan so vorgesehen. Das heißt, auch die Eltern, die Mitspieler, machen keinen Fehler. Egal, was die mit uns machen, es gehört mit zum Plan. Und hier gibt es die Möglichkeit,
So here's the choice, that I go with you now to a certain age of yours, which will become conscious to me in that moment, and I take you out of your role, out of the role which you have chosen related to your parents. So in that moment, when I take you out of it, I power you so full of strength. We play it through so that you can feel it. Then you encounter your mum and dad in that new energy, disconnected from the role. So in that moment when you meet them in this strength, you pull them also out of their role.
So, und in dem Moment, wo du ihnen in dieser Kraft begegnest, ziehst du sie quasi auch aus ihrer Rolle raus. Und ich habe das in so unendlich vielen...
I was allowed to experience this endlessly, many sequences with people, with whom then all of a sudden something became feelable. It is that from which the soul plan created the deficit and neediness in the first place. So here I make them encounter the fullness. And when I have made them feel the fullness, then I help them to transport this fullness over the days and weeks and months, up to the moment when they leave their parents' home, up to the present day. That means the consciousness of fullness comes with them. And then, once this happens, something very great is happening, okay? Okay.
Wenn das geschehen ist, passiert etwas ganz Großartiges. Okay?
Okay.
So, das wäre etwas, was ich jetzt natürlich
So that is something that, of course, I cannot do with you now, since it is too personal, if I would go into such processes with you now. But I will explain it now, how I do it, and what it will cause eventually. and recognize the following. If we didn't have the love in our parental home, if the neediness and with that longing for love, affection and appreciation is created, then we seek it in the outside. So the whole transformation process shows us we can do out there whatever we like, we won't get it. We can find it within ourselves. And this is the access which I showed in the attunement. To go into that regularly, connect with that power, is changing the consciousness.
Mal aufgezeigt habe, sich da immer wieder reinzugeben, sich mit dieser Kraft zu verbinden, verändert das Bewusstsein. Und jetzt wird spannend.
And now it's getting exciting from several points of view. So at first, and now I speak to everyone who hears this, when you sleep at night, your soul is on the go. It doesn't sleep. That means its nature is multidimensional. It is on different levels, dimensions and encounters equally on the way. And many of you arrived already to such a high sensitivity and awareness ability that even though you have the feeling that you are asleep, you sense the impressions of your soul. That can cause you to wake up during the night or in the morning and you wonder, wow, what was that last night? Where have I been this time?
So, das kann dazu führen, dass ihr dann nachts wach werdet oder morgens früh und denkt, boah, was war denn das jetzt heute Nacht? Ja? Wo war ich denn schon wieder?
There are just these bits and pieces, you can't really get it. And then comes something else in addition. In some circumstances, you feel exhausted. You think you slept enough. The day not even started, but you feel fully exhausted. It means your battery is maybe only 30% now. That means your battery needs to be charged. So if now you'd start with your events of the day, you'd realize that this 30% would be consumed as well, because you spend energy all the time. So if this is going down to zero, you can realize that this by a very simple feeling. The neediness for love, appreciation, for praise is going into shortage. You do everything for it because you're literally starving. That's like the inner barometer, where you can recognize, wow, I'm heading towards zero. If instead you now, as soon as you wake up, before you put your first foot out of the bed, you give your first thought out in the day, as mentioned in the attunement, put your hand on your heart chakra and center yourselves very consciously in the here and now. With that you get in contact with yourselves. Then you feel connected with the field of all unity, all connectedness of love. And in that moment the strength is streaming in. And then you let the healing stream go through yourselves for a minute. Then you refill your heart. And because you get in contact with that high love and become one with it, your battery is charging up.
Und in dem Moment strömt die Kraft ein. Und dann lasst ihr den Heilstrom für eine Minute durch euch fließen. Dann füllt ihr das Herz auf. Und dadurch, weil ihr mit dieser hohen Liebe in Kontakt kommt und eins werdet, lädt sich der Akku auf. Und ihr werdet das mit ein bisschen Übung.
And with a bit of practice, within 10, 20 seconds, the energy will be there. Simply an awareness. This connectivity. I am connected, and then you are. You breathe in, and you immediately feel completely different. And then in addition, we all know the phenomenon of jet lag. We have the feeling we arrive somewhere, but something is still missing. And this is the condition in the morning. When we connect ourselves with our soul and feel as one, it's like we recollect all our soul parts that were on the go overnight. And then comes the moment when we feel, now I feel whole again, now I feel complete again. And then you can start your day.
Wo wir das Gefühl haben, jetzt fühle ich mich wieder ganz, jetzt fühle ich mich wieder komplett. Und dann kann man in den Tag hineingehen. Und dann ist aber etwas Wunderbares, denn wir arbeiten.
And then there is something wonderful. We work with the highest love which is available to us. We swing very high within our hearts. Our charisma is changing and our impression to others is completely different. So, that is the basic program. How do I charge myself to fill up my battery? With what inner attitude do I start my day? But now it's like that during the day, caused by daydreams because of external circumstances or other people, we lose ourselves again. We are not always conscious in the moment. That is the training that counts now. And in that moment, when we are not conscious anymore, we don't breathe consciously. We don't draw that energy out of the field into us anymore, but we expend energy. So, what happens? We're going step by step again towards zero. The battery is getting empty. So now it is natural to drink a glass of water from time to time. You can make it a nice habit to, in that moment, simply take a deep breath, to feel connected, to feel the becoming one and how the power is recharging. That's a matter of 5 seconds. And you feel the energy coming back immediately. It is as if you plug a device in the socket and the lamp is burning immediately. But now, life is mean, and we just become sometimes not conscious, and we forget to drink water, and we forget to put our hand on our heart chakra. And here I have a very easy success concept. It's very simple. You surely know those little yellow post-its. If you take a random amount of them and you draw on each of them a hand, and you stick them everywhere that you move during your everyday.
So, und wenn ihr jetzt hingeht und nehmt euch beliebig viele und malt auf jeden Zettel eine Hand und klebt die überall dahin, wo ihr euch im Alltag bewegt. Mal angenommen, ein Tagtraum.
Imagine a daydream is pulling you away, a phone call, your friend, your mom, blah blah blah, it pulls you away. And you lose yourself completely. And somewhere there's this note with the hand on it, which happens automatically, you bring yourself back. So realize this moment very consciously, and that is what really matters now. To experience the presence of the moment, to keep it stable and always bring it back. Because only, and you will comprehend this, only in the presence of the moment, you realize what you think, what you feel, and what is coming from the outside. In that moment, when it becomes conscious to you, you can decide if you will give your creative energy to it, or not, and with that you decide what you manifest. And so you turn into a responsible co-creator. That means target this field, focus on that field of your soul, and from where everything which is inside you wants to emerge. And activate this field with conscious breathing. And in that moment, when you're connected and become one, I can promise you your life will change from scratch, because you change yourselves within yourselves. Is that understandable?
Und in dem Moment, wo ihr verbunden und eins seid, kann ich euch jetzt schon versprechen, euer Leben verändert sich von Grund auf, weil ihr euch in euch selber verändert. Ist das verständlich?
Ja, und eine Frage habe ich auch gleich dazu.
Okay.
Yes, and I even have this question straight away. For example, I'm talking on the phone, then I see my note. Can I then, in the middle of the talk, while Mum is chatting, lay on the hand? I imagine that I am connected and then the energy is streaming immediately, so that I'm charged already, even during the chat? Yes, exactly. But there's also the opportunity if the note is already laying beside the phone. When the phone is ringing, you see the note already. And then you go instantly in the strength. And everybody who comprehends this for himself will realize, before he answers the phone, before he switches on the TV or the internet or leaves through the door, in that moment when he feels so connected in that power, the experience will become different afterwards. Also in a difficult meeting with a business partner, or a difficult chat with a friend or whatever. When you charge yourself up with this energy beforehand, you feel connected. This talk can be guided by the impulses of your soul. That works unconsciously. But since you swing so high in the love, you'll speak words of love, and the entire discussion, which might have ended up in a fiasco, is getting a completely different tone. You won't lose yourself in that talk. And most important, you stay with yourself.
Wirst du Worte der Liebe sprechen. Und das ganze Gespräch, was vielleicht sonst in einem Fiasko geendet wäre, bekommt eine ganz andere Note und du verlierst dich nicht in diesem Gespräch. Und vor allen Dingen, du bleibst bei dir.
Das ist das Wichtigste.
That's the most important of all.
Und so rate ich eigentlich
Yes, staying with yourself. I actually always give the advice in any important decision, in any external contact, when we do anything out there in public, very briefly to let ourselves arrive at ourselves. To go in the strength. I can feel myself. I perceive myself. Everything will be graspable in that moment for me. And then, accordingly, I had the opportunity out of that moment to act in my own responsibility. Perfect. Great. And now let's do the following. Now that person is charged up in the morning, he's conscious he loses energy, he's getting it back. And with that you receive a sort of prophylaxis to not break in during the day. Because if we now speak about depressive resentment or fears, up to illnesses, psychoses, burnout, so realize that these are ultimately the result of a lack of energy. So start to experiment with it. When you provide yourselves well with energy, how your health is all of a sudden coming back, and how, in my own experience, problems all of a sudden just vanish. Also, difficult people around you are just not there anymore, because you swing in a different consciousness, and regarding this consciousness, you are trapped in the resonance, what is fitting to it. What isn't fitting falls off, and with that you do the way of lightness, and that's my program.
Diesen Bewusstseins zieht in der Resonanz das an, was dazu passt. Und was nicht mehr passt, fällt weg. Und damit geht ihr den Weg der Leichtigkeit. Und das ist mein Programm.
Then that is a patent formula.
Ja, das ist ein Patentprozess.
Yes, this is a patent formula, so now I want to tell you something more in that direction. So when we now imagine everybody is talking that dimension change, about that rise, and I realize it again and again that people feel they are being pushed from inside all the time, but I have to do something for my spiritual path. I can't just sit there and enjoy life. No, then I'm not responsible, then I might fall out of my soul plan or whatever. But first things first, your souls are by this time so strong, nobody is falling out of the plan. Nobody. And even if you would try it, your soul would correct you again. There would appear somewhere a guidepost, and then you want to do something with all your might, but the door closed, you simply can't get in. Okay. Or you missed a plane or whatever, so just trust in it, you can't do anything wrong. And with that you come back more into the basic trust. When I do everything right. Yes, and with that you get calmer. You get more and more away from that inner being pushed feeling, but I have to. Because what is ultimately the reason for that? In that moment where I feel pushed, where I have the feeling I have to do something, i.e. being impatient, my trust is missing. When I trust, I can let everything just come my way, right? Yes. So now I want to explain to you in a wonderful way how you can rise up without having any big things to do. For one thing, you can experience it already in the attunement when you let this healing stream flow through your body. In that moment your consciousness is rising, and not only your physical body benefits from that, but you also nourish your chakras this way. The chakras synchronize with each other, balance themselves out, and nourish with that the light bodies. And now imagine this, your physical bodies, your chakras, your light bodies are your children, and you are superior, the provider. You take from the field of your soul the power. You can also call it chi, prana or odd or whatever you like, but it is the power of love, the power of healing. You breathe that into yourselves, and in that moment you become like lifted up. And when you then get the feeling you feel so even, then it shows that you are balanced out. And when I tell you now, give your children the nutrition, they grow on their own. You don't need to do anything for your rising. It just happens. And here I'll give you another story.
Dafür, dass ihr ausbalanciert seid. Und wenn ich euch jetzt sage, gebt euren Kindern die Nahrung, wachsen tun die von alleine, müsst ihr für euren Aufstieg nichts mehr tun. Es geschieht einfach. Und hier bringe ich euch eine weitere Geschichte. Andreas,
I just take you by the hand now, and we go here in Siblingen to the marketplace, and there's now a hot air balloon. The basket stands on the floor and is not tied down, and the balloon isn't fully inflated yet. We both climb into it. And the marketplace represents our small 3D world, that which is constantly keeping us busy, internet and everything which is streaming into us and so on. And I look at you and ask you, do you want to stay here? No, switch the burner on. Yes, switch the burner on. That means you put hot air in now into the balloon. And because it isn't tied down, and instead is only staying down because of gravity, we slowly start to rise. Now be aware, never ever forget it again. As long as you put hot air into the balloon, you can't stop the rising anymore. You understand? Internalize that very deep within you. And now we transfer this to the attunement we made. The hot air is the power. The energy coming from the soul, the balloon is your consciousness. And can you understand that when you nourish yourself well with this power, that you cannot stop your rising anymore at all? That's not only a patent formula, that's the solution par excellence.
Kraft versorgt, dass ihr euren Aufstieg überhaupt nicht mehr aufhalten könnt? Das ist nicht nur ein Patentrezept. Das ist die Lösung per excellence. Und die Menschen, die das auf diese
And the people who do it that way,
sich ständig eben,
who constantly nourish themselves healthy with energy, they are not only well nourished, they are also present in the moment. They are exactly in the presence, and they can guide their lives consciously from the soul level. And what else is happening? The balloon is rising. Now we rise above the houses. Now we can see not only what we've seen in the marketplace. It is like our 3D world, we don't really leave it, it is still there. We have a look down over the side of the basket, it is still there. But interestingly, we've gained some distance, not because we judge it, not because we don't want it anymore, but because of the updraft. Because of the energy we give into ourselves, we've developed a healthy inner distance to all of those topics. And in addition, an overview. Now comes the overview, and now look out. Exciting. In that moment, when I rise up above the houses, you see, or we see, what is happening along the little roads leading from the marketplace. This is the view into the future. In the marketplace itself, we have only seen what surrounds us. In that moment, when the consciousness is rising, we look down on it from above, we go out of the time. And all of a sudden we sense events that are coming towards us. How crazy is that? That's exciting. Yes, but we not only experience what is happening down there, we can also see into the distance. All of a sudden we can also see the breakers of Sipplingen. The edge of the village, we can see the forests, the lake, the mountains. Our perspective is opening up. When you, and you at the screens, make a comparison, the further you rise within your consciousness, the more you see, feel, perceive. So compare this now with being clairvoyant, with senses like that, or with a view into different dimensions, having contact with ancestors, contact with light beings who want to help us. This is a process which you actually can't learn. You cannot learn channeling or being clairvoyant. What do we need for that? The energy. That means, in that moment, when you nourish yourself well with energy, you constantly put hot air into the balloon. It is energy that you draw from the field of your soul. You rise up. You can't even stop it. That's how your potential develops. You don't need to do anything else. It comes on its own into your life. That easy.
Ihr steigt auf und ihr könnt es gar nicht aufhalten. Und so entwickeln sich eure Potenziale. Ihr müsst gar nicht mehr tun. Das kommt wie von selber in euer Leben rein. So easy?
That is it. Just what you say, it is so easy. God is easy, and so the paths which we can take. That feels so great for me. I haven't heard it before so easy, and that is coherent.
Und das ist stimmig.
Andreas, es geht noch weiter.
Andreas, it even continues. I have even more ammo. So we continue rising up, and assuming you turn off the fuel valve, then it is so that this hot air is still keeping us on that level. And then it cools off, and the balloon goes down again in the direction of the marketplace, okay? So now again in the figurative sense, to the earthly life. We were breathing nicely, we nourished ourselves well. Now we let ourselves become distracted, and in that moment when we are not conscious anymore, and we don't take this power into us by breathing, we symbolically turn off the fuel valve, and our consciousness is sinking again. And now we want to have a look at what is happening here. Because we didn't speak at all about the sandbags which are hanging on the basket. They still hang there. Yes, we didn't speak about them.
Gar nicht über die Sandsäcke gesprochen, die da an dem Korb hängen.
Die hängen noch, ja?
They still hang there. But you reacted wonderfully. You spoke directly about the hot air. That means you are a person who is not problem-oriented, but solution-oriented. There are people who say in order to rise up, they don't get the idea to put gas into it. Instead, they want to cut off the sandbags. And in the preoccupation with the problem, they get stuck, can't move on. Because this is an emotional burden. Now imagine the following. We at first put hot air into the balloon, and we get a different overview. And with regards to people, in a metaphorical sense, we get a bigger view for the entirety. And with that, we might get a bigger understanding of the behavior of a person who hurt us. This is one of the sandbags. It has written on it the name of our best friend, for example. But we didn't bother about that at all. We had uplift initially. We are first in the consciousness. I don't see only the problems, I don't see only the marketplace, I can see more. And in that moment when I can see more, when I get a bit better feeling for it, for the connections, what brought me together with someone and so on? Is the sandbag, the emotion, losing weight? As Jesus once said, seek first the kingdom of God. To say it with our words, put in hot air, get going first. Go first in yourself, get yourself the power, rise up. As I just said, as long as you breathe consciously, you can't stop the rising inside yourself, it's not possible.
Das jetzt mal in unsere Worte, gib erstmal Gas. Okay?
Ja.
Geh erst in dich rein, hol dir die Kraft, steig auf und so wie ich gerade gesagt habe, solange du bewusst atmest, kannst du den Aufstieg in dir gar nicht aufhalten. Geht nicht. Und jetzt könnte man aber davon ausgehen,
but then you could assume that there's a sandbag which is giving a shout so strong, which is torturing us so much that we ask ourselves, how shall we deal with that? I could put hot air in, but the gadfly is also still there. So how do we deal with this feeling now? And here I have a different story. If we imagine we all stand now on the bottom of the sea, with our ankles in the mud, we very briefly look above us, and on the surface the sun is shining, and a deep longing infuses us. That's where we want to go. That's our rising. There we want to go. Now we take all our strength and bravery together, and the mud is a very difficult, overbearing life situation. And we are like stuck, and self-pity won't help us. And then we gather all our strength together and we push off ourselves, and now we rise up in the sea. And at some point it's getting slower, and now we float in the middle of here, but it won't continue. And in the mud down there now drift these ugly air bubbles. There now are our topics following us. They all want to be released. But they touch us again, they go through us again. And they are all these things. This is the stupid neighbour, it's the annoying mum, it's your partner who is bullying and controlling you, or whatever. No matter what. Or on the motorway, the tailgate behind me, that's also possible. How do I deal with that now? When I float in the water like this now, and I see now how the problem is coming, now it touches me and it's doing something with me. Now it's maybe recalling an old grudge, an old injury. In that moment, when I react to that grudge, to show myself hurt, as if I would hold the air bubble, which actually wants to go where? Upwards, yes, to burst there, then the topic is gone. I hold it tight. Metaphorically, I could also say, there's a topic torturing me. I make a family constellation, I make a past life regression, I engage with that thing and hold on to that bubble. Okay? You can do it. Make your experience with that and look where it's guiding you. But there's a different way. Now people have spoken for years about the letting go, the Lola principle. But I say something else. I speak of the let it be principle, and allow that all the children, because they are all my creations, that's what I brought to life sometime, I allow that this child touches me one more time. It lets something inside me swing up again. And now imagine, you stay easygoing, stay neutral. You allow that inside of you all sorts of things are swinging up again, but you don't react to them. What will happen? It will take some time. Maybe you even have to bear something within you, but please don't go into the topic, because if you react to the topic, you put your divine creativity into it. And with that, you hold on to the topic and it becomes bigger. And then you manifest the topic again and again. Yes, never-ending story.
Weil wenn ihr auf das Thema eingeht, schickt ihr eure Schöpferkraft rein. Und damit wird das Problem festgehalten und wird größer. Und damit manifestiert das Thema immer wieder. Ja? Never-ending story. So, was ist, wenn ihr einfach zulasst?
So what if you just let it happen? And you always bring back that picture. If it is the partner, the neighbour, just imagine it is that air bubble which is coming up. And again that feeling. And you say, I just allow it. And what happens? It swings up one more time, goes up, bursts, and then it's gone. If you experience this once in that way, you make it into your life concept. And here it takes effect that we as multi-dimensional souls are underway in many dimensions at the same time. And these parts of us all want to go into the light. And if somewhere a soul part struggles and we are not aware of it, this soul part appears to us as a substitute person. Here in the physical world, someone approaches us who is the exact reflection of our other soul part. In order that we can become conscious of this part, he stands in front of us. We can't avoid him. If we can realize this now, that nothing and nobody is coming into our lives without a direct connection to our life, to our own personality, and actually wants to contribute to our becoming healed, then I can change my inner attitude. Then I don't imagine that fool again. Instead I say, there's the soul part, and I can only rise up with him together, really disengaging. In that moment, when I let this person easily cross my path and absolutely not react to him.
Loslösung gehen. So, und in dem Moment, wo ich diesen Menschen so einfach durch mich durchziehen lasse und überhaupt nicht auf ihn reagiere, und jetzt kommt Jesus, wenn dir jemand auf die
And here comes Jesus. Whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other to him also. Maybe you understand this sentence better now. Don't react to the emotional field. Otherwise you make it bigger and you hold it tight. Let it just happen.
Don't misunderstand me. Someone might say, I don't want to be a pushover, that someone is robbing my flat or whatever. That's a different story.
Here it is about emotions which want to be lived and experienced again. And usually, if you're honest, they are topics of the past, which are touching you here once again, which have no business anymore in the here and now. And these topics you solve by allowing them, okay?
Durch Zulassen, okay? So, jetzt sprechen wir eigentlich gerade über die Sand.
Now we are actually talking about the sandbags, aren't we? In that moment when we get ourselves into a sandbag topic, and if you get me, when I'm on my way within a fear, an aggression, a jealousy, then I'm not consciously breathing anymore. That means I turned the valve off, which means I sink. My consciousness is sinking. And of course, when I'm sinking, I'm getting in contact again with all those feelings from the mud. And that can tell you why I get in contact with people again. Or, to put it in a better way, things are going to break. Appointments get cancelled. Nothing is working. People come into your life where you think, oh no, I thought I was finished with that issue. Nothing can just dissolve into love and air. Everything stays. But look at it as a multi-layered model in which all those emotions are stored. If you swing high enough, you have the vision, the recognition, the understanding, and you will neither drift off nor will you go into resonance with people who still live with this topic. And like this, you escape the 3D world. And you have a view from above and can, without judgment, without wanting, without having to, within the having no purpose, just let the power flow through yourselves. And look what happens. You all want to go into the unconditional love.
In der Absichtslosigkeit einfach diese Kraft durch euch durchfließen lassen. Und schaut, was geschieht denn? Ihr wollt alle in die bedingungslose Liebe. Ich habe euch gesagt.
I told you the field of your soul, the element of this field, which is the unconditional love. If you become one with this field, and you feel this love inside of you as a melting with each other, you become unconditional love. That can't be different. And if you are unconditional love, then you are very high up in your balloon, and you have a complete overview. And there you have the higher understanding about all the connections, and it will become unfamiliar to you to question anything at all in this creation plan. And that is freedom. That is the path of easiness. That means, to summarize it, shorten to the simplest, just start with conscious breathing. Nourish yourself in every moment with the strength of your soul. The rising comes on its own. And now I ask every single one of you, is this difficult? Do you have to do anything difficult for that? Do you have to sit like this for an entire hour without moving? Meditating in the hope that something will happen? For me, meditation is not only being silent. For me, this is an energy theme. In that moment when I go into meditation, I go into the dialogue with myself, with my divinity, and say thank you, and let this power come, and let myself be nourished, and go with that in the fullness, into the freedom, the easygoingness, and find then everything in this field that is attracting that which I need. And here may be another sentence, to internalize very deeply. As soon as you absorb the love from the field of your soul, it is a love of a supernatural nature. It doesn't claim, it doesn't judge. If you let yourself be nourished from this love, you fill up your heart, and I speak of the fulfilled heart, then you swing so high, and the fulfilled heart, and it is so easy, can externally, in the resonance, in all areas of life, attract only what? Love. Fullness and fullness. Many people are searching for the fullness. Now I explained it to you. You don't have to put in overtime hours for that on the outside. I also want to give you an example here. There are on and off people who say, I am so sick of my work. I want to do something different. Then the first thing to do is find the peace and the thankfulness with this work as it is. And realize this work is carrying you, it provides for you. It allows you many conveniences and carefreeness. And that what you feel now is an overstated way for yourself. I don't want this anymore. Look at this as a signal from your soul. A change is coming.
Und das, was ihr jetzt in dem Sinne vielleicht in übertriebener Weise für euch fühlt, boah, ich will das nicht mehr, betrachtet das mal als Signal der Seele, eine Veränderung steht an. Jetzt heißt es aber nicht alles hinschmeißen, abhauen, kündigen.
But that doesn't mean to throw everything away, to split, resign. But to say instead, okay, I live in a higher awareness. The higher awareness corresponds with the state of the presence. And you breathe consciously, and with that you get a different charisma within the love, which is starting to have an external effect on consciousness, and with that, healing as well to everything that is. And now I give you an easy example. Imagine you're in an open plan office. You're not really happy with your work, but you don't let yourself be troubled by that, and you are thankful instead. And you do this work with joy and with your heart. And now there's a new project from higher up, and they're putting together a team. And they not only want to get qualified employees, but instead they're searching for team members who have a good charisma, that bring energy with them, who transport the feeling, I'm into it with all my heart. Now, one of the bosses is running through this open plan office, and his eyes are always falling on you, because you are always in a good mood, and you have a good charisma, and so on and so forth. And the third time, he's targeting you and he says, Andreas, can you imagine to do something completely different? And listen up to what I'm explaining to you here. You didn't apply for a new job, nor have you searched for one, or even said, I don't like this anymore. But instead, you internally rose up your energy quality so high that all of a sudden you attract attention. And all of a sudden you're in a team where you can show your creativity, where you're completely happy. In a metaphorical sense, now I go on an apartment search. Let's say I don't like my apartment anymore. It's crucial that whatever I want to get rid of, I accept it with love. That means I decorate it with flowers. Be thankful for having my bed and all that is there. Then it guides me out into the nature and I radiate joy. And I attract attention. And the people think, what is with him? Something is with him. And since everyone is searching for love and appreciation, they feel attracted to what I radiate out. Now I sit there. Law of attraction, inside of me swings the feeling, wow, a change is coming. Great flat is waiting for me. I just give this into the field. Then there's a couple. Even though there are other tables, they sit directly beside me with a big stack of magazines. Okay, what are they doing? Searching for a flat. Now I get the idea to ask, do you have the review from last Saturday by any chance? Yes, you can have it. I open the magazine. Where does my gaze fall? To a flat? I call there. No one responded yet. You can have a look at it. I drive to that place and find the flat of my dreams. If you now realize that you don't go and buy that magazine and think, I need to go on the internet, I have to search. But if you instead, the changes that you feel from within let become alive, wrap them into a vision and then go into the easiness. Take the foot from the gas pedal. Everything is already there in the field. It wants to come to me now. And I live in the higher awareness, the easiness, so that I can recognize it. And if you, like me, swing in a consciousness so that you say, I am always in the right place, at the right time. In every aspect are things coming to me as I need them. I experience in every moment fullness, love, joy, easiness. Every encounter with a person is a blessed, worthy exchange. And now give this energy constantly into the field, and it expands, and you live in this state of fullness. Can you then still attract any shortage? If now any one of you ask, how can I get rid of my debts? Then stop looking at your account. Instead, start the change within yourself. Go in the imagination of fullness and you will attract fullness. It starts within ourselves. Easily explained? Well understood? Understood, great. Now, please give us an example. If we are really stuck in that shortcoming, how can we imagine fullness? Well, it is true. I've been shaken a lot in this life. We talked about that already. I cannot simply ignore feelings. Everything, and this is addressed to all of you, everything you ever felt stays. What matters is, how do you change your attitude to these feelings? For example, I was massively scared of heights. And when I got in touch with that issue, it was shown to me where this issue came from, the source of this fear. I made my peace with that subject. If today I go near an abyss, then I don't have the fear of heights anymore. But I still have this queasy feeling. If you live together with someone in a great love, and then you broke up and it went to waste, and now you meet this person again, or you see a picture, and you're not angry with that person, then you'll get again in touch with this feeling of love, and you'll get again a warm feeling because you come to a place with a bench where you used to sit with each other cuddling a little. That is normal, and that is allowed to be. That's dealing with life. These are the air bubbles which simply swing up one more time, which want to be filled, and then they are gone. And if we then sometime in the future make the transition, our life review becomes pretty short, because we processed everything already. Nothing has to show up anymore where we are tested again.
Weil wir alles schon verarbeitet haben. Es muss sich nichts mehr zeigen, wo wir nochmal geprüft werden. So. Und wie machen wir jetzt weiter?
So, how do we continue now? How can we in this life implement this? We are now emotional, we are upset, and the best that you can do now, I say it a bit playfully, I turn around and forget you. That means the engagement with something that makes me joyful, anything that builds me up, takes me out of the problem. That doesn't mean to say I ignore my life now, I don't want to see the problem, no. It also doesn't mean I try to avoid this air bubble. I don't even interact with it in the first place. In that moment, when I give my attention to something nice, it could be a bike ride, or I like to go sailing, or drive my car and open the roof, and simply experience new impressions, in that moment it pulls me out of what you just described. We have all options. We also have to recognize our weaker self. It holds this pain as if it's even enjoying it.
Nur, wir müssen auch den inneren Schweinehund erkennen. Der hält uns fest, als wenn der sich in diesem Schmerz auch noch ahlt.
Yes. Yes, but we have the opportunity. We can always decide, will I stay on that topic? Or will I branch off and forget this topic for now? Because it's coming back again anyway. But maybe I am now, because of what I did, now a bit higher above with my hot air balloon, going more often in the nature, the easiness. And all of a sudden I had the feeling, hey, it isn't actually that bad. And when I now get involved with that topic again, the easiness, my soul picks me up. I can look at it from a different perspective, in a different consciousness, and find peace now with it. That means the target is always hot air, to breathe, the connection with the soul. And with that, the transition, the presence of the moment, that's what brings us forwards. Every consciously perceived moment in the breathing, in the connection with the power, then we become as solid as a rock. Then this world won't be able to do anything to us. But when we have no energy, we crash. That means actually the energy is following the attention. So when I then go consciously into the breathing, I aim the attention at myself, so I get more energy. And with that I pull away the energy from the shortage, because I am with myself. And that's the easiest opportunity to give the energy to myself. Then I rise a bit higher, also in the swinging, and attract with that the fullness again. That's right. If we ensure we come here as Spirit of God, in this high energy, in the completeness to arrive in this incarnation, and we maintain this completeness even in the toddler stage, that's like, if you look a little child in the eyes, in these big eyes, you see a purity there. There you can still see the divine. until it gets in touch with the imperfection of this world, and it will be alerted how dumb it actually is, what it has to learn. But there's nothing wrong about that. We have to leave the completeness because of what we have chosen in the soul plan, confrontation with our parents and so on. So we have to become unaware of what we really are, so that through what we experience here, such a big shortage and neediness develops, which pushes us through our experience. And if we would have everything, we wouldn't move. No development would be possible. So now we go into the incompleteness, and in the beginning our world was still all right.
Und wenn wir alles hätten, würden wir uns nicht bewegen. Wäre keine Entwicklung möglich. Ja. So, jetzt gehen wir in die Unvollkommenheit rein. Und am Anfang war es ja so, da unsere Welt war ja noch in Ordnung. Mama war da.
Mom was there, love, food, warmth. And now I get my own life and make the first glass fall. Here comes the first bad look. I'm getting terrified. I'd never seen that look before. So now I'm absorbed in my divine game. My mum calls me for the third time to come for lunch. I don't listen. Now the voice becomes louder. Maybe I even get a little slap. Now my whole world collapses. I'm not aware I've done anything wrong, but the feeling of perfection completely vanishes. I feel not good enough. Something is wrong with me. I get reproaches, and this imprinting goes on and on. And now we get into school, and I have a bad day. Maybe I didn't learn and got a bad grade. Now I even get it certified as I'm imperfect. And when I get home, I even get a slap. So the whole program in this world is coded to show you how imperfect you are. That's not wrong. That's the path of each soul plan. At first we seek out the completeness collapsing, so that the experiences can even become possible. So now regarding this, go back to the consciousness of a 4-year-old, for example, as before, where you are getting to the truth. You realize, stop, there exists a different movie behind that. There's a truth going on behind the roles. But this truth wasn't meant to be recognized or lived, or be experienced. Otherwise we wouldn't have fulfilled our soul plan. We wouldn't have gotten into the shortage. And now we come to an important topic. At some point we'll be fed up with all of that. We don't want everyone telling us what is right and wrong anymore. We have the feeling, wow, I have such a big heart. All I want is love and harmony. Do they not get it? Why do you see me as something different? In that moment comes the awakening. Because now we go into rebellion and say, I just don't believe you anymore. I believe now what I feel within me. With that, we can't find this anymore on the outside, but we find it within ourselves. Now starts the path to the inside, and now we feel in the connection. And in the attunement you feel it very clearly, how suddenly a love comes which fulfills you. This love no human can give you. And now I will reveal something to you which maybe you don't know yet. The time of Lemuria was a time, a culture, between what you have lived in enlightened communities in the stars and Atlantis, where for the first time it was going into the separation. In Lemuria, you were both man and woman at the same time, like a hybrid. That means there was something prepared, because there was an individuality already, but no direct separation. And in that moment, when you feel yourself as man and woman, the love is in a certain way still feelable, like in the community where we all were one. Okay? And then came the next step. Then Atlantis came to life. Now we don't speak about the energy misuse and everything that led to its downfall. That's not interesting for us now. Instead, we now explain this primeval need, the longing for our dual soul. Lots of people ask me about that.
Hin und erklären mal dieses Urbedürfnis, die Sehnsucht nach unserer Dualseele. Ja. Wo viele Menschen mich darauf ansprechen. Ja?
Das ist am Anfang sehr viel androgynous Wesen.
Ja.
So in the beginning, we were this androgynous being. Yes, but now realize what follows. On Lemuria, you were one, man and woman. To Atlantis, where you incarnated as man or woman, now starts the search. Where is she? Where is he? The experience of relationships in various ways only became possible because of this. I so often meet people who are so passionate, where is my dual soul? And then they embark again and again on adventures. And how lucky, because it's their soul plan to go through all these experiences. And now I don't want to disappoint you and take the wind out of your sails, but the likelihood of meeting your dual soul here is 1%, because it is your higher self. And now understand what follows. In that moment, when I have made the attunement with you, and you are away from the outside, and you stopped searching for the love on the outside in a partner, but instead in the spirit of your soul, and then all of a sudden a love comes to you that stuns you completely. Wow, what just happened? You encounter your dual soul, and in this melting you don't need anything else. Try this out and see how it affects you. It makes you completely free, makes you so full within yourselves, so that you then, in this utter feeling of having arrived, in the love which is there, you seek the love no longer on the outside. With that, you release the soul path, which has sent you through the shortage, the neediness to the outside. Now you turn the corner and are coming home, as if you tie onto the divine consciousness, what you sacrificed in the earliest childhood, in the incompleteness. Now you tie yourself back on again. And interestingly, when I do this with people, they have the feeling, actually I feel like a child again. And then I say, that's what it is. That's the explanation for when Jesus said, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom is within you. You are all gods. And here again the advice, you are all gods. And it's nothing external to us. It's all inside here. And those people who want to go that way now, that's a hero's path. It's an adventure. You will realize then, the more you go into that connection, and you really imagine you encounter your dual soul, which is not somewhere outside. Instead, it is waiting within you. And in this melting, this becoming one, you go back to your divine consciousness of Lemuria. In that consciousness, the low mind, the ego, has no chance at all, because you swing so high that you say like to two children, you know what, be quiet. You know it better. The fear, the hardship, the worry, the control over your life vanishes more and more, the more you become one with the field of your dual soul. Then you will from that field, so clearly and so obviously nourished, that you'll get everything that you need for a happy, fulfilled life. And now imagine you live this awareness. You live in the presence of the moment, and you can feel that you are nourished in every moment with everything that you need. The idea to do this, don't do that, take care of this, isn't coming out of the shortage of the earthly mind anymore. Instead, you are so much in the fullness, and you know that everything is there. And now you get these impulses, and without questioning them, you follow these impulses, and you get exactly in that life situation which can bring out what is perfect for you now. And now I ask you, if everything appears out of the moment, what should be interesting at all about the future? You can forget about it. It's not important at all. Everything happens now. And with every decision, with every conscious thought that you put into life, you shape your life. And now we're actually again after the process of dying. Once you let go of your body, you're in a state of timelessness, and you manifest immediately out of the consciousness. And now recognize what, for the first and only time, is happening now in the world. It's like a dying. Not that we have to lose the body, but the time dissolves. That means we drift in the same dimension as we would go when we die, into the timelessness. And the way we now gradually lose the time. We luckily have some time left for practicing, that we become conscious, that our thoughts and feelings manifest into a reality, and that we take the responsibility. And you're very well advised to extend the presence of the moment. Listen to Eckhart Tolle. He speaks about nothing else. The presence in the here and now. And now you might also understand his work even more, what he wants to express behind it. Because only in this presence are you in that binding. Then the strength is there, and the clarity is there, and when you have clarity, you can clearer and more often sense the impulses of your soul. and then follow them. Andreas, what is now still difficult in life? It is easy. It is easy. And if people come to me and say, but it can't be that easy, then I say, yes, that is what is going on in your head now, because you learned. You have to learn vocabulary in order to, you have to always have to perform in order to. Here, recognize that in that moment when the manifestation power starts working, you use only your imagination alone, and then it is there. A little joke here. My mum contacted me some time ago. She said, I still don't get this done properly. She used to do lots of baking and work with her hands in the flat. And then she said she still tries to work with her hands, but now I just have to imagine it. I laughed so much. So she came from the hereafter to you. Yes. We might need to mention that in addition. Oh yes, sorry. Yes, so she is already in the spiritual world and has on that note no physical body. Here to explain, we have a spiritual reflection of this body. That means we sense ourselves in that body. And that's why it often happens that people die and don't realize that they died, because they can still sense themselves in this body. And here's a simple trick. When I support souls to make the transition and I tell them, hey, you are no longer in your physical body, they say, I am, I can see you, I can sense everything. Then I say, over there is a chair, now lift it. And then he grabs through it. And in that moment, he understands. Like in the film Ghost with Patrick Swayze. Yes, like that with the coin, for example. So that means we basically go through a sort of small death. We don't lose our body, we lose the time and the imagination of time. And that's why we experience the time so very differently than we think. Wow, we just run through it. But the running through it means nothing other than that the outcomes are coming more quickly. So we draw something to attention, and then it happens immediately. And we experience it as if time expedited. But the truth is, we only manifest faster. And as soon as you realize what power you are carrying within you, which wants to come to you out of the fullness, which wants to grant you a fulfilled, happy and wonderful life, then you will realize that within your personality ego, you always hang on to this shortage and neediness. And only in connection with the soul, when the updraft is coming, you can realize a bigger connection. Then you won't be interested anymore in what is going on down there in the marketplace. You can simply let it happen. And that's the salvation. And whoever wants to go down that path should follow it. The path works. Easiness is shown. And that's with your easy patent formula, conscious breathing. Yes, that means when you go now out of this interview, don't try to change all your life with force. Many people are on that trip where they say, but I want to live unconditionally. And they give everyone hugs. And they get a slap in the face. It's not about what you do on the outside. It's about your charisma and what you feel within yourselves. And here again an example. When you have problems with someone, he simply doesn't want to let go. It is the scream of the soul. Actually, he's searching for your attention, your love. Then just go towards him and give him a hug without words. And prior to that, you're connected to your dual soul and have the love within you. You don't need it anymore. You give it full whack. Then this person melts away in your arms, starts crying, doesn't understand the world anymore, and all the aggression is gone. Try it. Especially with your parents, it works. Love is the ultimate patent formula. But don't try to love unconditionally. It's as if you could learn clairvoyance. First, you need to bring the energy within you to make you go into the easiness. I say you can't restrict feelings with just love away, but many people try that. They make, a fool of themselves for others. All the things they do, and say, I don't get it. Why don't I get it back? And then I say, you do it out of the shortage. And when you do it out of the shortage, because you wish to go into the fullness, then you generate shortage. At first, you need to arrive in the consciousness of fullness, and then take it to the outside. Then you generate fullness. And I hope all of you understand this. Easy, light, Do you still have questions for me, Andreas? So, regarding the fullness, I just need to breathe, and the rest comes along by itself. I just need to let it happen, or allow it to happen. Yes, it's like in a hot air balloon. Yes, exactly. When you breathe, when you put hot air into the balloon, as you now know, you rise up. And now ask yourself, what did you all undertake? How many workshops did you visit? Light body process, up and down. And then you come home and your old man's still mutinous. That means the problems are still there. You still hold them tight. You haven't changed within you. It's about that you develop this easiness first inside of you. And then everything will go away which doesn't fit to you anymore. Spiritual laws. Actually very easy. Actually very easy. I haven't learned all this, that is to say, I didn't have a teacher. Life was my teacher. But maybe you have a clue from what I have chosen, how many breakdowns I had to go through, how much pain and whatever, so that I repeatedly doubted myself, but also recognized more and more connections. And so I arrived slowly, more and more to the point I stopped trying to understand everything with my analytical mind, so that I reached the point where I said, whatever I want, attention, it's coming out of the shortage. I attract shortage again. Every wanting means I don't have it yet. But in that moment, when I have the feeling of fullness within me, and I say, I always have everything that I need, I don't start out from the shortage, and then you can attract the fullness. I hope you understand this. Internalize it, and make that exercise with the breathing again and again. Pull yourself again and again into the here and now. Fuel yourselves. I think I have wrapped you a parcel now which you can work with. And I think if you hear it again and again and internalize it, I can only tell you something which touches you within your inner truth. If it doesn't resonate with you, you can't use it. But just the fact that you've watched this now means we are already in resonance within the field of all unity, the all-connectedness. And that's the exciting thing, that many people come to me and say, hey, I saw you and you resonated with me. I just had that feeling I wanted to go to you, even though they didn't actually know what they wanted from me. My way is the way of easiness, to bring clarity in the moment, and with that understand life and see it from a higher perspective. And with that find your way back to your divine awareness. And that's the way back to the unity. And with that I say thank you to you. Thanks for watching. And maybe we will see each other sometime in the physical world. It would be nice. My love, my peace, my light is with you. Your Gerhard.